Good
Morning.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Small group here. Roll call?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Don Dice,
Here.
Mark Schroep,
Here.
Rick Nipper,
Here.
Bruce Larson,
Here.
Kimberly Newton is on her way. Deborah Harmon. Here. Laura Lee is not here. Nicholas Sanzone,
Here.
Richard Bankhead,
Here.
Aaron Adams,
Here.
Kurt Smith is not here yet. Fred Goldstein,
Here.
Barbara Wall-Scanlon. Here. Eric Manis is not here yet. John Windsor,
Here.
Charlie Venuto.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. Approval of minutes. Any comments on them at all?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Approval of the minutes from November, the 5.5-hour meeting.
Good meeting.
Do all of you remember that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. We're up for the progress report.
Okay, good morning and happy 2026. Here we go. So we have completed 119 community projects and 2,317 homeowner projects. As you know, and the big topic of today is the draft 2026 plan update. Thanks to everybody who sent us comments in time for us to incorporate into the version that you have today. I believe that we were able to incorporate everybody's strike through and underlines and address all but 2 of the sign line comments questions. We still owe Don 1 response and Fred 1 response on comments, but otherwise, hopefully we captured your input, so thank you very much. Quick connects, we completed 2 more this month, septic upgrades, 23 more, 4 more leaky lateral repairs. The Grand Canal, we're working on, they've finished emptying the bags of muck and are working on site grading and restoration. They will be out of there by the end of February. The Oak Galley muck dredging contract has been fully executed, and they are mobilizing to the dredge spoil management area. The video, Nick Sanzone's My Lagoon Story video is edited. We'll see that later today. And Beb removed 2 more derelict vessels from the lagoon. The Sykes T septic to sewer project, there we have, I think it's 5 crews working on Sykes T and Sykes N. It's the same contractor. So working on pump stations and installing lines and vacuum pits. The South Beaches O&P septic sewer project that was previously awarded, and the pre-construction meeting is scheduled for the end of this month. Jumping down to stormwater, the Flamingo project, the bedding stone, the bioabsorptive media, the BAM, and drainage structures are partially placed, so that project is moving along. And then there are multiple other stormwater basins in permitting. The Cocoa Beach Golf muck capping, there's updates for that Terry's going to share with you later on the agenda, but there's lots going on there that we're excited about. And then oyster monitoring, UCF completed 1-year post-construction monitoring of the Banana River pilot project and found a density of nearly 400 oysters per square meter compared to our sustainability goal of 100. So that site's doing
Yeah.
very, very well. And we also shot or collected the video for the Lucky Clover Mobile Home Park Septic to Sewer project and the Longleaf Pond retrofit. So hopefully we'll have those to you next month.
Don, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So last month on the Sykes Creek T, you reported they were finishing installing the lines, and now you've added the other project to it. Are they done installing those lines, and that installing lines now is for the new one? Or did they not get it done?
For XT? No, they're doing the vacuum pump.
The pits.
But the line's finished?
Yeah.
Because that's what you reported last month, they were finishing it up. Okay, thanks. And then the, one other question on just update on the status on the 1/6/26 bids. Did those come in? Did you get some?
Oh, yes. For the muck handling
Yeah.
disposal
Yeah, for
site?
the property.
Yes, sorry, I totally missed that. So, yes, the request for proposals, the bids were due on January 6th. There was only one received by then, so we extended gave them an extra week, and a second response did come in. So that is now closed, and we'll move forward to review and
Okay.
acceptance.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, thanks for catching that, sorry. On presentations, Terry presented at the Indian River Lagoon Summit. This was something that Representative Monique Miller pulled together with other representatives and their staffs from the area. And Aaron Adams helped pull this, sorry, wrong. Jeff Ebel. Jeff Ebel helped pull that event together. So it was a very informative time with our delegation members. And as I think all of you know, we've had 2 Save Our Lagoon workshops with the County Commission on January 5th and January 12th. Next week, I get to give a presentation at the West Melbourne Library. Lagoon Loyal is going to be representing our program at the Space Coast Birding and Wildlife Festival next week. And then on the budget workshops, your progress report lists the 2 workshops as January 22nd and January 29th. The January 22nd workshop was just canceled due to conflicts that some of the commissioners had, and so that's been rescheduled for March 19th. Terry is going to be presenting at the People in Nature Symposium in February, and then we always encourage everybody to attend the Indian River Lagoon Symposium down at Harbor Branch February 19th. And then under future topics, next month, I know y'all have been discussing a number of things, so I think it's going to be a sort of COC-centric discussion. So you've wanted to talk about the funding applications and guidelines, so we get all of that in order before the next round of seeking applications from the community. And then there have been discussions about within your lanes of expertise, looking at, talking to the folks that you represent and their interests, and making sure we're feeding that information to the group. And then Charlie volunteered to work on the biochar proposal. So that's what we're planning for February, unless you have something else you want us to do. That's my report.
Question. Aaron and I had some late comments between ourselves, and we were supposed to send those in last week. And how would you like yours to handle? Would you like to meet with you, or just some topics of discussion? Not trying to throw a brick into something here. Just,
Well, and this was the chair's idea, so do you want to say what you've had in mind?
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead? I was going to save it till the end, but we can go ahead and do it now.
trying to mess up something.
Yeah.
Well, just to clarify, right, I don't think anybody owes staff anything, right? I
No.
think this is for
No.
committee
you
discussion.
will, to achieve, I'm going to give each lane an assignment. And that assignment you'll fulfill. And we're going to give some of them next month. They don't have to go next month. They can trickle out through the year, but I don't want them to go on for too long. It's really to just, I feel like the group should, it was your first, many of you, it was your first year last year. And so it was a very learning year. And I want you to get more engaged in the program and to learn more. And that's, hopefully this is going to be a exercise that helps you do that. So each one of the lanes will get an assignment and do it over time. Some of them next month we can have, but we can extend it out too. So that's what it'll be about.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
You pulled me out. It wasn't so long.
Yeah, just remember to use your mic. Maybe is your light on? Or maybe
Yeah.
the mic's just too far away.
And just to let you know, I spoke at the summit also, on the COC.
Yes. It was so long ago now, and I wasn't there.
I know. Thank you.
Don, can I ask a follow-up on that?
Sure.
We haven't discussed it at all, but would that be something like a survey that we would go to, like parks, boat ramps, and tourism-related places
Well,
and talk to people about
To
their
tell you the
experience,
truth,
or-
I kind of run out of steam on your guys' lane. So I'm looking for a topic from you.
Okay.
So think about a topic and that fits, tourism and provide that, and how it fits into this whole idea. And Laura Lee, your presentations at the workshops was wonderful. And so,
Really good.
So-
Amen.
yeah, and so, build upon those thoughts and come through with something. And Nick, you've been here your whole life too, and it's your job. So, yeah, there's many things that you can present.
Okay, and we'll come up with some ideas.
Yeah, please do. And that's another thing that I want you to do is to talk to one another in your track, That's what this is all about, talking to one another within your track, too, to make sure that you have a cohesive thought when you come to these meetings.
Great. Well done.
Thank you. Where are we at? I've been waylaid. We're in the finance.
Finance.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good morning. We have received $3.9 million for October collections. And the total revenue from concession is $500 million. For the monthly financial statement, the anticipated $571 million in revenue by the end of the fiscal year. The actuals received so far is $1.5 million. And for the expenditures this fiscal year, the total assigned to projects and programs, it's $84 million, and the actual spent is $5 million. You have any questions?
Wow, thank you.
It's the new year. So,
Fred?
yeah.
Kurt? Hank?
No, it was just looking how small the numbers were on that right column. I'm sure we'll move forward on that.
We're in our new fiscal year, so that's why.
Yep, oh yeah, started out. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. A revenue update.
This is you. Oh, sorry. Oh, my gosh. It's been a long.
We have been waylaid.
Okay, I want to talk about revenue and revenue projections, but, all of this is within lots of other things that are going on. So the governor released his proposed budget for FY '26-27, and, I guess it was about 4 years ago, the the legislature accepted and funded his $100 million a year for the Lagoon grant program idea. There was $100 million, and then there was $75 million, and there was $25 million last year. So this year, he's requested $100 million, but we're sharing it with Biscayne Bay. So anyway, at least we're happy to see $100 million in there.
But that's even more important for us to have money to make money.
Yeah, to leverage that money and compete with Biscayne Bay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, right.
Dan, give me an idea how that works. Do we get in a boxing ring with them, or do we just?
So the state has an application period, and they will announce when they're opening, when they're accepting applications. It's a competitive grant program, and so everybody along the Lagoon and Biscayne Bay will be submitting applications. Certainly having a local match, having skin in the game is part of the weighting criteria. And then, so, there'll be a time period when those applications are accepted and due, and then there'll be a review time frame. And then they were announcing them in the fall, sort of October, November timeframe, and then for a couple years they slid until spring. And I believe recently there was some command to get them issued in the fall again. Yeah, so is it November? Okay, so we should know for the next round the results in November.
Good, thank you.
So the budget that the legislature is currently working on for fiscal year 26-27, they are anticipating a $3.8 billion surplus, which sounds great, except that they also look towards the future. And so in the next couple years, they are expecting deficits. And so there's a lot of rhetoric around, downsize now, think about how to get there. So I don't expect them to be allocating that $3.8 billion surplus. They are looking at how to shrink their budget so that they have less of a problem in the next couple years as they expect deficits. And that affects the grant programs, obviously. Grant and funding sharing with counties.
Why do they expect such huge deficits?
I don't know. Part of it is the sales tax changes. They adopt changes that affect their revenues, so, and affect our revenues. So, we last met in November and then had December off. So this is going back to the table that Lori presented to you in November. And, we had just received our August revenues, which were quite low and a bit scary. And so at that point, I was projecting, well, what do we think we're going to collect by the end of the fiscal year? I projected a September revenue of $7.6 million, which would have resulted in a shortfall for the fiscal year of $88,000. But then September, August was low and then September was high. And so September collections were actually $8.1 million, and we ended up with a surplus for the fiscal year of $478,000. So that was very encouraging. So this was in your December packet. You just haven't had a chance to discuss it because you didn't have a December meeting. And so between what we presented in November and what we used in the plan update that was for your discussion today, we had this great month of September. So things were adjusted, and everything was looking pretty good. And then October came along. So this is the revenues each month. and each line is a different year. And so you see that, those spikes are the quarterly discretionary funds that we get. And you see that each year is generally a little higher than the previous year. So the orange at the top was the last fiscal year, but January was surprisingly low, and then you see August was surprisingly low, and September was back to high, so we thought, okay, maybe these sales tax things aren't going to be too bad. But then here is the October revenue that Lori just shared, the 3.99 million. So that is the lowest that we have received in 3 or 4 years. That's a very low revenue for us. And I think this is the list of sales tax changes that we shared at the last meeting. The bullet at the very bottom, the permanent repeal of state sales tax on commercial rentals went into effect October 1st. So that October revenue may be an indication of how significant the impact of this commercial rental repeal is going to be on our revenues. So the plan update that you have now is I've ratcheted down our 10-year revenues by 2.3 million compared to last year, and it's because of what we have seen since November, since we last were all together in this room. Yes.
But 2.3 million is a $2.3 million reduction year over year on the entire 10-year program, or in compared to last year?
Total for the 10 years compared to last year.
So the projection is 2.3 off of the 500?
Right. So
Okay.
we had been at 585, and now
Yeah.
we're at 583 for
Okay.
the 10-year projection.
And do you have an idea what kind of percentage the sales tax changes mean to you in revenue? Or is it too early to tell on data?
So this graph shows you each year projections versus actuals. And so, as I said, for 2025, that green bar shows you what we have collected so far. And we were, at the end of September, slightly ahead of schedule. But now that we go into the October, November, December calendar year to close out 2025, we have this new sales tax exemption for commercial. And so the state is projecting a 0.4% decline in revenues attributable to that. And so for the year, for the calendar year, I'm expecting an average annual increase compared to the prior year of 1.47. That's being ahead of schedule for 9 months of the year and then behind schedule for 3 months of the year. So combined, an increase of 1.47. And then the state is projecting a very, very small increase next year. So, right, that is not 17% or 1.7%, that is 0.017%. So that affects the remainder of the 2025 calendar year projections, and it also affects our 2026 calendar year projections and brings our overall revenue, 10-year revenue projection down from 585 million to 583 million for a difference of 2.3 million.
Virginia, I just wanted to ask you if you would give us some perspective on what you and everybody else was expecting when this was voted in back in 2016, the numbers that we anticipated, and we were all pleasantly surprised. But these numbers tell a story, but I'm just asking you to give us the background of that story.
Yeah, so you can see the 2017 revenues. We were, in 2016, The revenues for a half-cent sales tax that was currently being collected by the school board across the street was a little over 32 million. And so at that time, we projected 340 million. Inflation was about 2% a year. So we projected about 340 million over the 10 years. Obviously, we've been on a roller coaster of inflation and changes in the economy. So we're way over that. But that also means that our projects cost more. Yes.
Do we need to consider revising the project list with that $2.5 million less, or what?
So let me show you what we've done to balance, to make up for that 2.3 million. Right, so in your last meeting in November, you voted on a bunch of substitutions to put these to fund the new project requests. And the very bottom bullet, you said to allocate the remaining wastewater funds that were from withdrawn wastewater projects to septic upgrades. And so that's what we have done. We would have, so in the current plan, the funding allocated for septic upgrades is 30.7 million. In the plan that you have to consider today, it's increased to 45.2 million. It would have been 2.3 million higher if we expected higher revenue. So that's where we
fall lower, even further, we'll pull it out of that.
you can decide where you want to pull it from, but that was, based on the motion, that was, since it was allocating the remainder, the balance, that's what we did.
Smart.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good morning. First, I'm going to talk about the stormwater substitutions. I think, Fred, you brought it up in the November meeting, asking if the new projects were comparative to the ones we took out of the plan to substitute. So here's the list of the new project requests that we received to add into the 2026 draft plan. They had a combined TN reduction of 2,755 pounds, all offered at a cost share of $574 per pound. These are the stormwater basins that we substituted. There was a TN reduction of 5,280 pounds, but they had an average cost share of $767 per pound. So the new projects are more cost-effective than the ones that were substituted.
The overall impact is half.
Well, I will also add that we took into account the vegetation harvesting was also pulled out of the stormwater projects. So, and that cost share is $114 a pound, and the one project was removing over 4,000 pounds, I believe. So
Okay.
it's still relatively cost-effective. All right.
Any questions on that, or, yeah, go
I have
ahead.
a question on that. We're talking about previous years and changes in the finances before, and I'm just wondering, how does this look in compared to previous years on cost average?
The cost share offered, you mean?
So,
Or
we were talking about how, the cost of living and everything changes and the cost of projects change. Is that reflected at all in previous years of the average cost of removal per pound in previous years? Like, how does that look when you kind of line those up in previous years versus these years? Is that something that we've looked at all?
So each year, when we come up with like that 574, how much are you going to offer for new stormwater projects? We look at what is left in the plan that hasn't been done yet for stormwater projects, and what is the cost of each of those funded projects. Then we come up with the average, and typically that is what is offered. Sometimes there's some outliers that we pull from that, and we explain what we've done. So then when the new applications come in, like the ones at the top of the sheet, and we're looking for what projects to unfund to free up funds for those. We go to the least cost-effective of the ones that haven't proceeded yet. And so that's why the cost of those projects that are being removed contain, multiple projects that cost more per pound than the new ones being added in. So over time, we're doing more cost-effective projects.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so inflation, makes it confusing, but each time you make these changes, you're generally taking out the projects that cost the most per pound and putting in projects that are sort of the average of everything that's in the plan.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I have a question to make sure I understand this. So the projects that we approved going into the plan were essentially prioritized things in the plan, against things in the plan that had not been started yet?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, and this one just popped in my head this morning when I woke up. So we hit 2026 at the end. We have all of these hundreds of millions of projects left. Is there something around the decision-making process after 2026 and how those will be substituted in or out?
I mean, I think you'll keep doing these annual updates until,
So the committee will continue?
yes.
Oh,
Got it,
yeah.
okay. I was just
Yeah,
wondering.
no, we've got years of continuing, so
I
no.
didn't know if the legislation said that keeps going or not, given the tax sitting and ending at 10. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there is language in the ordinance about, for as long as the funds are in.
Funds exist.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, and that points, this all points towards my question on Appendix D of the plan and looking at the stormwater projects and prioritizing them. That's according to their significance in area, but also cost generally. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I can move on to the next
Oh,
presentation.
You're it, yeah.
Okay, so as Virginia mentioned this morning, we have updates on the Cocoa Beach Golf Muck Capping Project. The county went to contract with the city of Cocoa Beach for this project in 2020. The city went through the RFP process to procure design and engineering services to evaluate dredging versus capping. Engineers' estimates had dredging costs estimated at over $75 million and capping between $32 and $38 million. The city proceeded with design and permitting for the capping, and they also procured $12 million in legislative appropriations for this project. So they have $29 million in SORL funds, the $12 million in legislative appropriations, giving a total budget of $41 million. The city so far has spent 1.4 in design and engineering of the SORL funds, $368,000 from the legislative appropriations. The construction is estimated to come in at $33.5 for this project. The city council last night voted to approve this contract, so they're moving forward with that. We are estimating construction administration to cost about $3.5 million, putting this project under budget at $38 million for a balance of $2.2 million. So the city has asked, due to the cost and oversight of this project, the city has asked if the county can take over management of this project. So the county is prepared to take on this project, and we intend to have the board write a letter to FDEP requesting the transfer of the legislative appropriations, and then we can handle payment and oversight of this project.
So will you do construction administration? Is that?
We'll go to contract for that.
Yeah.
There'll be a
Okay.
contract for that.
Oh, okay, so that's not going to be you, that's going to be.
Well, it'll be our staff working with the construction, the engineer of record.
Yes.
Consulting firm.
That's what I
Right,
meant.
and the contract, which is
Geosyndic.
What,
Brennan.
Brennan,
Yes,
J.R.
yeah,
Brennan?
They awarded that one.
Yeah. And we've already spoken with DEP about assigning that $12 million legislative appropriation, the balance of that legislative appropriation, from the city to the county. It was awarded for that project, so they're not tied up in a knot about who manages the project as long as the work gets done. So, right, it's proceeding, it will be within budget, it's just that the workload is going to come back to us to manage.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Virginia, I'm looking at these numbers, and a question popped into my brain, and I may have missed it. How long do we anticipate this project to last?
Talking to Mike.
Capping projects usually are completed way faster than dredging projects. I think it's 14 months, 14 to 18 months.
And I ask that because, and that's not a very long time, so inflation shouldn't affect us. But if we have one of these longer-range projects, and we anticipate X to be the amount that we're going to pay, and inflation raises its ugly head and makes it higher, do we have any allowance? Or are you looking at that when you're putting these bids in? Or are you setting aside a slush fund to cover any overage?
Yeah.
Because
So-
inflation's a real thing, and it's just real crazy.
Right. In the bid documents, it's up to the contractors to figure out how long it's going to take them with their means and methods to complete the project, and sort of, crystal ball what they expect those costs to be and change over time. So, they give us a price, their bid, and that is the contracted price. The risk is if we change our mind. So with Grand Canal, we originally excluded the Berkeley Canal because the manatees huddled there, and we were concerned that the state might not give us permits to dredge the muck in that canal. After several years of seeing how the project was going and there weren't any manatee conflicts, we went to DEP, and they were okay with permitting muck removal. And so then we went to negotiate a change order with the contractor to add that in. So for that change order, we had to pay today's prices rather than the previous.
Well, and that's foreseeable, obviously, because it's a new bid. But I was just wondering about some of these longer-term contracts, so the onus is really on the contractor.
Yeah, it really depends on how the contracts are written. So some of our contracts, especially longer term, can include a CPI, an annual CPI. And sometimes that is capped at, say, 3% or, some number, but it's all clearly stated in the bid documents that are advertised, so the contractors take that into account in their pricing.
This may be wishful thinking, but we were $2.3 million shortfall. There's a balance of $2.2 million there. Where's that going?
Well, it could be for any contingencies that could happen with this project, and could potentially be used for monitoring.
Okay. Thank you.
Dick, go ahead.
I'm new to this. These contracts, a couple of questions. Are these contracts, were we involved in them when they were put together? The one we're taking over?
The city did that, did the procurement for those.
So we've been communicating with the cities, we've attended some of the meetings, we've worked with the consultants and the engineer at various steps along the process, but this went through their procurement, the city's procurement process.
That scares me. I'm on your side. Is cost plus hard money? Which way? Or
It's hard money, yeah.
Okay.
It's a fixed price.
is there contingent, I hate to be asking these detailed questions, but is there contingency in it for things that go wrong?
We haven't seen the contract yet.
Well, we have, and we've put it through our purchasing to review, the bid document package. And so, yeah, all of that is still, like she said, this was a city council meeting last night, right? This is,
Good luck with that, right?
moving quickly.
I finished this slide this morning.
Yeah, exactly, especially when elections just
So I'm justified answering the question. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. This is exciting, though. I mean, this is the first capping project, and we're looking forward to, this may be, the future of
Right,
several
we
of the.
expect to learn a whole lot from this
Yeah.
project.
So it's
And
very exciting.
when the plan was originally written, we expected this to be our project. The city of Cocoa Beach, when they completed their canal dredging projects, said, hey, what about that one off of the golf course? Would you like us to do that one? We're like, yeah, how about it? And so that's how it transferred to the city. The city's had a lot of staffing changes. They've lost the expertise that they had when they originally asked to take on this project. So we understand the request.
So based on that learning, how do we plan to monitor this one? Do we have some funds or something to do that, or an idea of what kinds of monitoring we're going to do?
From my last conversation with the engineer of record, I think the monitoring will be in that construction admin, I believe, but we can
Great.
find out for you.
Thanks.
We're just trying to wrap this up. There's a lot of things we don't know yet.
Thank you.
And we've learned a lot from the other dredging projects, the muck dredging projects on monitoring, so,
Sure.
yeah. Go ahead, Laura Lee.
I have several questions. Number one, where's the sand source coming from?
A quarry.
And it'll be like kind of consistent with the sand in the Indian River bottom?
Yes,
A
they've
shell
done
and
so
sand
many
mixture?
studies on the sand characteristics, and they're matching it as best they can. That's why it's coming from a quarry, so it'll be clean. We have lots of sources we can pull it from, like the Port Canaveral and dredging projects, but those aren't as clean, and we're trying to keep it clean so it does the most
It'll
absorption.
be the, washed sand from a quarry.
And is our goal to bring the level of the pits up to the level of the rest of the bottom?
I think that's it.
No.
Oh.
No. There's, it's
I
too
mean,
deep.
ideally,
Yeah.
yes. So as we are looking at all of the projects where we can do that, that is part of our design criteria. For this specific project, the hole is too deep. We could never afford
Yeah, we
to
could,
do
it
that.
would, too much sand, but the goal is to reduce the flux, and that's what's happening.
Right, and so how many feet of sand will be put on top of the muck?
They're going to do it in lifts, so it doesn't mix up the muck, and so they do like 3-inch lifts, and they
Okay.
wait weeks. So overall, it's going to be between a foot and a foot and a half. There's been studies that is the effective thickness of a muck cap.
And will it be brought in by truck, or will you put the sand on a barge and then move the barge over to where the project
It's
is? How
brought
do you
in
get
by
it there?
trucks to a staging area, which is going to be at the Cocoa Beach's wastewater treatment plant.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put it in a slurry tank, and then it's pumped out to a barge. It's a specialized equipment that sprays the sand out over and lifts over the muck pits.
Okay, thank you.
Eric?
I'm just recalling a presentation that Austin Fox gave about the muck and its effect on the sand and that sort of thing. I'm assuming those considerations were factored in, and there's no, this is going to alleviate the concerns of that he had about that.
Yes,
Does that
this
question make
has been
sense?
studied
Didn't make sense
to
to me,
death. And we've got all the data, we've modeled it, we just need to do it. and
Yeah, so the
monitor it.
consultants have worked
Yeah.
with Austin to understand those considerations. And so the thickness of the cap is a combination of making sure the thickness is sprinkled in light enough layers that you don't have a collapse or whatever. And then the thickness has got to be stable during storm events. And then also we want it to capture that flux that's going to be, trying to push its way through. So all of those things were considered in the cap design.
So I'm totally ignorant on this capping thing, so my question is probably stupid, but is there a time period where that muck being capped will ever disintegrate? Or does it just sit there forever?
Right, it's sand, so it's not going to disintegrate.
Okay, interesting.
Right.
Yes.
Actually, Dr. Fox is going to do a presentation on amendments for sand for us next month. I believe that's still on the schedule, Virginia, for Dr. Fox's presentation on amendments for sand capping. Are we having that come up for the grant that he received? I thought we were having a presentation on that, sorry. I may be mistaken about that. There is minimal data available because sand capping is not generally done in limestone, porous type environments. I did have an opportunity to speak with Dr. Fox at length about capping because I had a lot of concerns, and so I went to the source. And he was very generous with his time and information. He did cite one project. I'm not familiar with it other than what he shared with me in the northern lagoon. It's a FPL project. That was a pit. And that did have a good rate of success on monitoring after. One of the things, and it's a different kind of hole than what's in Cocoa Beach. It was a bigger, deeper, just kind of one canyonous kind of thing. But there is settling. So as that muck and sand settle, even when it's level initially, it will dip in over time. With this project, my understanding, and I have not studied this project, so please jump in and correct me if I misspeak at all. It is subject to storm events, and it doesn't actually remove the flux, it redirects the flux. So that can either be from compression and it can stabilize, or depending on what the structure is beneath the muck, again, in this case, it's sand and porous stone, it can push those pollutants and that flux down into the groundwater in a different direction. In another presentation Dr. Fox gave, he actually discussed capping. He referenced it as one side of a 6-sided box. So if we cap it, we still have 5 other sides that are pushing that pollutant out. One of my concerns was also, and like this was even before gator dredging came in with the presentation about all the, not just muck, but crazy garbage and all the different pieces of things that they pull out during the dredging. So there is concern that there are other things in the muck that will be left as a legacy pollutant and legacy rubbish. I studied this and I sought out information because my first take on capping was that it wasn't a viable solution for us in Florida. Most of the data, if not all the data other than the FPL pit, is from limestone, from northern regions that have a different composite underneath to kind of hold in those other 5 sides of the box. So we're different. I hope this comes out to be a very viable, cost-effective way to control our muck issue here. You know, again, it's experiments, in my opinion. It's not sound proven science. So I also question like where soil funds are appropriate to be used if it's considered research. But they were able to quantify the data that they had. And again, as Jean mentioned, there was a lot of study and engineering. I mean, this project was first proposed in 2020. So there was a lot of research that did go into that. But capping is, it's not proven yet, in my opinion, even though there are some data sets out there, to be a great source of removal. So the tax, us, our board, our committee, our goals are to remove the pollution. This is not removing it. It's kind of putting a pin in it, and then those sand, whether it's through an event like a hurricane or any kind of wave event, it will flux that sand. So there are a lot of benefits that can happen in between there, so that the sand, again, the presentation, which we may or may not be having, Dr. Fox actually was awarded a great grant to study this, that he's going to be doing this year. So that this amendment. It's not just a pure sand, but the washed sand plus, the scrub sand plus different amendments. He'll be studying to see what best contains that. So there might even be amendments that actually can like harvest those pollutants that flux out of the water and contain it, and then hold it, or it could be processed later. But I appreciate all the questions on it. I wasn't going to say anything, but just because I did go back on my own in my own time quite extensively to research this, because I didn't want to just take it at first glance and, oh, this doesn't look cost effective or long-term management. And even though it's about half the price as opposed to dredging, and then also with dredging, you take this pollutant material out and then you have to figure out where to put it. And there's so many different issues with that, whether it has PFAS, whether it's being, tested, biohazards. I mean, there's so many other things. So there's other benefits to containing the pollution where it is than just the initial, just the initial containment of that, nitrogen and phosphorus. So it can actually prevent other issues from us having to put it somewhere else. It's already there, it lives there. But it does create a legacy pollutant. And so 5 years, 10 years, maybe 20 years, we're going to be addressing this same site. We could find that the amendments, that the sand, that it did a great thing and that it naturally just decomposed. Again, I'm not speaking for Dr. Fox at all. I will not do that. But he did also explain that historically, with the tidal waves, the sand would come in and naturally do what the sand capping projects do, so that it has an opportunity to slow down and dissipate at a more manageable level, so that it can naturally filter through the water in itself with that sand being there. Because muck isn't just because of the pollutants. There was always muck, from debris, from composite matter. It's just we made it happen a lot faster with other factors not being able to clean that out and other contaminants on top of it. We had this huge amount of unmanaged muck. But I think it's definitely something that I saw that 2.2 could be used for monitoring to see how it goes. To test it continually to stay on this project. As far as county taking over, I think that actually gives more access to the project with all of our support for this board and their constant monitoring and testing and hands-on and kind of excitement to be out in the field and see where it goes. But there are a lot of variables that, in my opinion, the data around capping does not support. Even though it was used and even though it's cited, it doesn't directly support our environment and our sandy soil and our bedrock situation. But it is comparable, and it is the only thing we have other than the FPL pit that was successful. And again, the only thing with that pit is that the settling did occur. It didn't stay flush with the bottom as it was. So that might be something that happens here, but it's a different type of fill. So it's not just a big hole. It's more shoreline type fluctuations. I haven't seen the actual mapping of the site, so I can't speak to that either.
Yeah, Deb, go ahead.
So I want to back up a bit. We are doing this project is being done as a capping project. And many other sectors of the plan, we have situations where we've learned over time about the effectiveness of something. Would this project, knowing what you know about it, be more expensive to do if we were doing removal versus cap?
Yeah, estimates were $75 to $100+ million for dredging.
Yes, so one of the advantages of this particular project, without going into the details, is that it gives us an opportunity to assess whether or not this will be effective, maybe not long-term, to Kimberly's point, and also potentially reduce the cost while allowing the lagoon to heal in the time frame from the benefits that would come from capping. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And I will say, from my past experience, sediment capping is a used in hazardous waste site cleanup in sediments, and it can be effective used in the right circumstance.
So then is this
Wait a
viewed
minute.
as
Wait a
an
minute.
experiment?
We had Aaron.
Yeah, the spot that we're talking about is a pretty heavily used spot by adult tarpon during season. It's common for spots like this that are kind of deep holes. And I think a large reason for those spots being used by tarpon is that there's freshwater inflows from springs. Have you guys tested to see about freshwater inflows? Because if there are heavy rain events, lag time, of course, might well perforate that cap. Is that something that you guys have looked into?
I'm sure that's something that engineers have probably looked into.
Geosyntac is the engineer of record for this, and they do talk about freshwater on another project that we have with them. They've considered looking into that. I don't know for this project, but if they've mentioned it on our other project, chances are they probably have. Oh, you don't know.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know.
I suggest doing that.
So I will look into it.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Okay, because St. John's River Water Management District has an extensive mapping of old inflows, some of which they capped, which that means water comes out somewhere else. But I think that would be worth looking into.
Don, if I could just finish what I was saying. I was very, initially I was very opposed to this project. That's why I sought out the information and went to research it. And I do think that it is a viable project. It will reduce the acute issues that are happening there. And there is the possibility that, again, the amendments, the sand, the composition that they put on top of this will act as historically natural sand flows did in the lagoon and help to mitigate those contaminants and to break them down so that they can naturally gasify, off. I'm not using the scientific word there, but Austin's not here to back me up with what he said. He used other words. I made notes. I don't have them with me. But yeah, so those gases, those off-puts that are coming out of that sediment, there is a possibility that this sand can amend that. And we could find that this is much better, again, not having to take the materials to another location and possibly contaminate a secondary location. So there were, there's a lot of variables. $30 million is a lot to take a test and see what happens. But I'm confident that the contract engineers, just as she just said as well, in other projects, different specs they've cited in regard to that. I know it's been thoroughly vetted. I know that it's been years in preparation for this, so I would hope that that all came to be through thorough processing. And again, the initial cost savings over dredging and then not having to figure out where to put that muck is huge. And so that if it does turn out to be a viable solution, there is the possibility that we get one big storm and there's a wave intuition and boom, it's gone. It could be gone in 6 months. I mean, I live beachside and they put sand down and I go out and it's gone, but we have to keep doing it because that's just where we're at as humanity enjoying this island. So it has to,
Mr. Chair?
keep up.
Yeah.
At the risk of, be polite, some of the things that have been said in the last 10 or 15 minutes are pretty outrageous. I would like to suggest you table this for another meeting. We're not voting on whether this project goes, I'm not voting on anything. I'm emeritus, remember? And so, we've seen a lot of these kinds of things before, where somebody brings something up just out of the blue, and we get off on a tangent and we lose focus on a mission.
Yes.
We have a mission today, but we're not voting on whether this project goes forward or not. We're getting an information update to help us make help you make better decisions as you move forward.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, please curtail this discussion now and
I'd
move
like
it to a set time when, if you need some expertise here, don't depend on the COC members. Depend on Austin Fox or somebody else. Have them in here to answer the questions you have not us, okay?
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have to remind everybody that this program is built upon adaptive management. And so this is a part of adaptive management is you know, this is a new project that we're going to monitor and look at very closely. So Kurt, did you have a comment or?
I would like to offer a few clarifying points really quick. I was a part of some of the initial capping research with Dr. Austin Fox many, many years ago. But I just want to clarify that we're not pushing the flux away somewhere else. That's not how the process works. One of the main issues that we're seeing in the lagoon is that we're losing substrate that supports the nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. Those bacteria carry out their processes best in between the pore water of the sand particles. We're losing healthy sand in the lagoon through muck. The muck, these bacteria cannot do their jobs in the muck themselves. So one, with the sand capping, you're creating a habitat in itself by bringing back, you know, historic sand, but you're also giving those beneficial bacteria a home again. You're giving them a place where they can live, where they can carry out these processes to mitigate nitrogen pollution. And so with the pore water that you're getting from the muck, it will be pushed up through the sand particles, but it's going to be slower, and it's going to give the bacteria time to convert the ammonium to nitrogen gas. And so it will dissipate the nitrogen pollution, slowly reaching out through the pore water in these sand particles, because you're giving that bacteria the substrate that it needs to perform these processes. And by using clean sand from quarries and not other dredge projects, we're giving the sand the capacity to absorb the phosphorus that it needs. So it's not that these fluxes are going somewhere else. They are being mitigated through the sand cap itself through natural biological processes.
Thank you, Abby. I appreciate
Yeah, let's just, yeah, one more question, and then we're going to end this.
And just Deb had mentioned how capping is used in some applications for waste management, landfills, and other hazardous waste sites. And so there's a natural attenuation that goes along with that. That's the process. And just what Abby just said, just kind of shortened it. So there's an attenuation component to this.
Yeah, not to mention phosphorus too, so the binding of phosphorus.
And there was, you know, an extensive research. So yes, sand capping has been used historically many times for your hazardous waste. It just, not many people deal with nitrogen pollution in the sediments like we're seeing. And so this is the innovative part. Sand capping itself is not an innovative process, but using it to facilitate these bacterial processes that benefit the lagoon is. And so, you know, we looked at the sand cap before it was placed, during its placement, right after it was placed, and that's why we had Austin go back 5 years later, after we've had numerous storms and impacts to the system. We had him go back and look at those fluxes, and the results were that that area is now a sink for nutrients. It's not a source of nutrients, and so it's doing its job even 5 years later.
Thank you.
And it's been used in Lake Worth Lagoon just south of us, so it's not totally foreign to
Yes, yes.
our area.
I did not know about the Lake Worth. I will study that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's hear about Nick. So-
Oh.
It's right here.
It's not on the agenda.
You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
I have one more, Logan, well.
Yeah, we can, okay.
Okay, look, I have one more update that I wanted to give the
Okay,
committee.
okay, good, thanks.
On the Cove Package Plant. There's been some emails I think some of you have received over the past couple months, and I wanted to take a minute to let the committee know some of the history that's been going on here. So in 2022, the Cove reached out to Sorrel staff and began discussions to apply for Sorrel funding. They were approved for an original $121,500. With inflation, that cost share has been approved at $130,000. In 22-23, the county was awarded an FDEP grant for $634,000. This was not executed because the Cove would not commit to putting in any money towards this project. This project at that time was estimated to cost between $1.5 and $2 million. So the county applied for additional funding and was awarded an additional $505,000 towards this project. FDEP was intending to amend the original contract for the total $1.2 million towards this project. In April of 2025, I gave a presentation to the Homeowners Association to discuss the funding options. The community decided to proceed with the MSBU survey. This is the municipal service.
If you can't have decorum in here, we'll have you removed. If you can have decorum, you're not allowed to speak, so be quiet. She is giving the history of this project, so be quiet.
In April 2025, I gave a presentation to the Homeowners Association to discuss the funding options available for this project. They decided to proceed with the MSBU survey. So the MSBU is a Municipal Service Benefit Unit program, and this provides residents with a funding mechanism for specific infrastructure projects and improvements, including roads, resurfacing, water, and sewer line installation. The first step of this program is to put a petition from the property owners requesting the board to provide these improvements. The county then develops a preliminary cost estimate of the project. That was estimated to cost about $5 million. This information was then disseminated to the residents in the form of a survey. In order for the project to proceed, the survey must have a 66 2/3% vote saying yes. The Cove voted 1 yes, 31 no, and 8 no responses. So I contacted all of the HOA board members at that time, and all agreed to withdraw the project and to seek funds to upgrade the package plant instead of connecting it to sewer. FDEP was notified that this project would no longer proceed as planned, and we asked for the funding towards this and other water quality improvement projects, and FDEP said no, and that grant funding was withdrawn. Oh, and yeah, sorry, the match. So the Sorrel cost share was part of the match that made these applications more favorable for the projects to rank on their project list.
That was the original 130,000?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to be removed? I mean, if you, one more, and we'll have you removed. So no more outbursts. You're allowed to have a public comment in the time periods you've requested, and that's it. So that's all you get.
Any questions on this?
Good report.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
this and updating us.
I'd like to just point out one thing, if I could. I received that email. The email listed some sewer leaks, and one of the sewer leaks was supposedly Jacala. I live 4 houses from that canal. I went back into that canal twice on my paddleboard. It was not a sewer leak. It was an algae bloom and a bacterial bloom. So if you did receive that, that was incorrect information.
Interesting. Thank you. Now let's listen to Nick's.
Hopefully I did well.
Yeah. Well, they do a great job of editing.
Yeah, so.
Thanks, Don.
That was positive. That was meant to be positive.
No, Brandon and his team was fantastic. It was really nice.
Yeah, so we actually filmed this out at the Indian River Lagoon Day that Melbourne hosts over at Front Street Park. So you'll see a little bit of that in the background, and we'll let them roll the video.
So today we're at Front Street Park in Melbourne, Florida at Indian River Lagoon Day. This event has been going on for over 2 decades. It's being put on by the City of Melbourne and many partners, including the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program, the City of West Melbourne, Brevard County, and LagoonLife.org, a company of my own creation. One memory I have of the lagoon, my fondest memory of the lagoon, I was probably about 7 years old on a field trip, and we took a big yellow bus down to where the Barrier Island Center is today. We kicked off our shoes, We did the Stingray Shuffle in the water. We got to experience the lagoon in all of its beauty and majesty. There was a guy with a big funny hat and short shorts who led us on a trip and told me that you too could be an environmental scientist if you go to school. So I did, and I learned environmental science, and it was this one moment that really sparked my connection and curiosity about the lagoon, and the whole world that I lived in was from that one field trip, really. The reason I want to serve on the COC was to continue to be involved. I've been involved with the lagoon ever since I returned back from college, and even before that, as a kid growing up here. So it was kind of full circle for me to just take that next step. I've served on many boards, and to get to actually be part of the COC was a goal of mine for a long time, because it's that committee that helps connect the community to the county and all the projects that they do. And also it helps me stay informed about all the projects that are going on in the county, because there's so many of them. And it actually allows me to volunteer for more things that I wouldn't be aware of if I wasn't on the COC. The biggest challenge for the lagoon, multifaceted, right? To say the biggest one would probably be the connection that people feel to the environment. You could say that that boils down to education and activism and stewardship, but if people feel connected to something and have an important place for it in their heart, they're going to want to protect it and preserve it. So maintaining that connection that people feel every day when they wake up, connected to the environment, that's the biggest thing. We want to make sure that the kids have that experience. Everybody that's growing up in grade school gets those field trips that I went on and gets to experience the lagoon and connect to it at a young age. So for me, that's a big problem that we have, is when we have kids that grow up that aren't connected to nature, they tend not to vote for projects and programs that promote nature. So some of the steps I'm taking in my own life to help protect the lagoon is by volunteering, serving on boards, or volunteering with oyster projects and seagrass plantings from Brevard Zoo down to the Marine Resources Council. Everywhere up and down the lagoon, there's lots of opportunities to be involved. Another way that I connect to the lagoon is through a little business I created called lagoonlife.org, originally created to help people build living shorelines on their homes, because creating living shorelines is a great way to reduce the amount of runoff and pollution in the lagoon while creating habitat. But recently, I've shifted focus and created a children's book to connect kids to the lagoon through proper stewardship. And it's How to Be a Steward with Olas, the Lagoon Steward. It's free and it's available anywhere books are sold and on the internet. I really wanted to make sure that kids could find a way to connect to the lagoon through some type of a role model like Smokey the Bear and the Lorax, right here for our own lagoon. For me, my number one reason to protect the lagoon is because it's beautiful. It adds to the aesthetic value of my own quality of life. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the world, because this lagoon has everything that I want to wake up to. It's got beautiful birds and fish, it's got a place I can swim, it connects us to the ocean as well, and it provides a habitat that not only wildlife can live in, but that we can live in together. So it provides me a place where I can connect to nature, and for me, that provides a sense of fulfillment that I can't get anywhere else. Big thanks to their team. Wow, you guys did a good job.
Seriously.
And so for those new members who haven't had their My Lagoon story filmed yet, please reach out to me, get in touch. It's a pretty painless process. So just let us know some dates and where you want to film it, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, you guys made it really easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The quality of the videos is ramping up over time.
Thank
I have a
you.
question. What is the lagoon mascot's name? What's his name?
Olas.
Olas. And will we be seeing him at any events in the future, or is that determined?
The big hat disappears.
Yeah, well, there's Lagoon Day down in Indian River County. I talked to Barb at the ELC about it. Maybe with a little more confidence, I might make that happen.
Here's the confidence. Make it happen. You got that, Nick. That's all you. Good
Thanks.
job.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks,
on the
Nick.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good job.
All right, old business, any old business? If we move on to the new business. For those that, everybody know Marcy?
I don't think so, so I will introduce myself. Hi, all. I'm Marcy Frick with Tetra Tech, and I have been supporting the county since 2016, drafting the original plan and supporting in updates annually. While I don't attend all the meetings, I do watch all the meetings online, so I've listened to your discussions, heard the presentations, and I've been coordinating with staff on making the updates to the plan. So I'm excited to present your newest plan. You did see a version in December, and I appreciate everyone who sent comments. We did make edits, so the version that went out last week with the agenda incorporated the feedback we got. As Virginia mentioned, there were a few places where some of the comments really just needed more responses instead of more detail, and I believe we'll be following up with that. So thank you all for that. So you should be, as I'm hitting buttons I shouldn't be, familiar now with your table of contents. We did try to highlight anything that changed just to help guide you in looking at it. We realize this is a large document. So you can see some of that on the cover. Any words that were modified or added, we highlighted. If a table or figure was changed, we highlighted that title, really tried to help target your review. I'm going to go through today section by section and just talk about some of the larger edits. At any time, feel free to stop me, ask questions. I know it was a lot of material to get through. So as you can see here, this is the overall structure. We did make updates in the acknowledgements just to capture the latest committee composition, the latest staff. The executive summary was updated to reflect the 2026 plan information, and then I'll walk through each of these sections. So starting with section 1, that's just the background and history of the plan, and there was no changes in that part, and there were also no changes in the approach, outputs, and outcomes, and this was kind of the longer-term plan of the vision of during different time increments, the changes we are hoping to see in the lagoon and the community in response to the plan. Section 3 provides the pollutant sources, and these, we updated the tables and the figures in this section with some of the latest estimates of loading from the different source types. And so the big changes really start coming in section 4, which is all of your projects to reduce the pollutant sources. So the first one, starting with education, well, I guess in section 4 overall, we updated the background information for reduce and talked about that new statewide stormwater rule. I know you all discussed that in previous meetings, so there's been a lot of new legislation, and we did try to capture that throughout the document. The first part of the reduce section is public education and outreach, and the different programs were updated, so we added information on the citizen science stormwater pond monitoring and maintenance pilot program that's going on under the stormwater pond maintenance, and that goes through, I believe, March of this year. Provided the latest details on the Lagoon Loyal program and the efforts that Sparktide have been implementing to try to expand that engagement, and then added some additional details on the latest status of the oyster gardening project. Moving into the next section for wastewater treatment facility upgrades, we did provide some updates to the background information. One of the changes we did make from the version you all saw in December to the one that went out last week was updating table 4.9 that has all the facility flow, concentrations, and loads information using the latest facility permit information. We did add here details about the new Clean Waterways Act requirements, which I know you all have been talking about in terms of some of the upgrades required to wastewater facilities and reuse. And then we did add the Cove Package Plant upgrade as the recommended project to table 410. There were no changes to the spray field and rapid infiltration basin upgrades, but there was in the package plant connections to remove the Cove project from that table, moving it to the unfunded project section. And then there were no changes to the sewer lateral rehab section. A lot of updates in septic to sewer. Sorry for the tiny text here. But we did refine the background information, added details about House Bill 1379 and those requirements for septic systems. Again, I know you've been spending a lot of time talking about all of the legislative changes. We added a new table 417 that had the latest ArcGIS-based nitrate load estimation toolkit, also known as ARC Inlet, TN loading estimates, and the refined costs to connect the septic systems based on information that's been coming in on completed projects to date. The new recommended projects for South Tropical Trail, that sewer extension project, and the additional funds recommended to expand the South Central A project were added to Table 420. The City of Rockledge and Rockledge Zone B projects were withdrawn, also from Table 420. And then there was some additional data to start putting estimates on the total phosphorus reductions for septic projects. We haven't historically done that. The figures in this section, figure 4.2 through 4.13, were upgraded to show the latest locations for all those septic to sewer projects to reflect those changes for the new recommended and the projects that were withdrawn. The costs were updated for the septic system upgrades based on the latest dollars there. Your recommendation for that minimum cost share of $6,000 for all septic system upgrade projects was added. The septic system upgrades in Table 421 were updated to reflect that additional recommended funding. Table 423 was updated, has a cost share for different types of septic system nutrient removal systems. So we updated some of those cost shares in those examples to reflect those latest dollars. And then the Board of County Commissioners had approved retroactive reimbursements and had stipulated certain requirements that must be met for a homeowner to apply for that. And so those details were outlined in the plan. Moving on to stormwater treatment. There's a call-out box in the introduction, so we updated those percentages of nutrient contributions based on the latest data that, again, were also in those tables and figures up front in Section 3. We refined some of the project type descriptions for the stormwater projects in Table 424. Cole went through quite the effort to update all the basin projects with the latest costs. And so Table 427 reflects that, and it's reordered to be based on cost effectiveness. We added the 6 new recommended projects that Terry talked about earlier in this meeting to the table. We withdrew the Forest Avenue project, and then we moved those least cost-effective basins to the unfunded table in Appendix D, as Terry also discussed, and then updated all the figures to reflect the latest locations for the stormwater basins. In vegetation harvesting, the new recommended unincorporated countywide vegetation harvesting project was added to the list. All right, so moving on to the remove section, under muck removal, all of the text and tables and project reduction estimates were refined by the muck team over here, reflecting the latest nutrient flux data. Your recommended Tequesta Harbor project was added to Table 432, and then all the figures were also updated to show the project areas. For the treatment of muck interstitial water, those reduction estimates were also updated using the latest flux data. In the spoil management areas, there was additional language added about the option for a potential competitive process to identify other disposal locations for the muck removal. In the surface water remediation system section, there was some details about the innovative technology grant and just providing updates on where those projects stood. And then we did add some more details. We had a couple comments from the committee based on your review, so we added a little bit more detail on the status of some of those grant projects. And then under the enhanced circulation section, there was text about legislative funding requests for cost share funds, and that was added, and that was to conduct a feasibility study for a restoration project to help reduce or remove the earthen causeway in the Banana River Lagoon to help with circulation. Going into restore, in the oysters section, the background information was updated, and then we updated the county oyster bar projects to every year, we adjust the length of those based on new projects that come in. So you all had recommended adding the ZIP project and the Brevard Zoo project. So then we reduced the general county oyster bar projects accordingly in Table 437. In the planted shorelines, in the background information, we talked about what the inflated cost per pound cost share was for those projects. We added the recommended projects along Coconut Point Shoreline Stabilization and the Living Shoreline Enhancement Project to the table, and then Scottsmore Impoundment was withdrawn. For clam restoration, the background information was updated, and then the committee had previously recommended adding an additional $40,000 to the clam aquaculture project, and that came out of the central IRL upgrades, sewer upgrade dollars. But then again, as Virginia mentioned earlier, we did, based on your recommendation at the last meeting, add quite a bit of dollars, so you may not notice the $40,000 missing. But that was reflected in the clam restoration section. And then in the seagrass planting, the background information for that section was updated. There was a table 441 that had nutrients in seagrass estimates for the period of 2005 to 2009. We added a new table 442 that reflected the nutrient content for 2023. And that the next table was also added, 443, with the seagrass lost and the nutrients made available, comparing that 2005 to 2009 and 2023 periods. Moving on to respond. The adaptive management section, that includes information about the committee, and so we did note that the fourth term ended back in February. I was about to say earlier this year, but we're in another year. And then the next section on cost share for substitute projects, the table was updated to reflect the latest cost share amounts that you all had approved over the summer. The next section is in the respond has updates on the implemented projects. So there's two big tables, 45 and 46, that talks about, the first one has the tax funds that were expended on completed projects, and the second one has the dollars expended to date on projects that are underway for construction. We then also updated all the figures, and there's an example here that shows the completed projects that have been completed to date. And then there's a bunch of subsections on different project types. So there's a section called Measuring Performance that talks about nutrient content in groundwater. So the background information and the figure in that section were updated with the latest data. In septic to sewer and the septic system upgrades, the costs were updated to reflect the latest dollars. Also in the septic system upgrades, there was details about the new House Bill 1379 requirements, and then the approved $6,000 cost share amount. Also in measuring performance, I think I just repeated that, so I apologize. It's the same information I just said. I had that twice on the slide. There's a new section that was added to talk about the ultrasonic algae treatment pilot project. Talked about the capping project and the muck removal, as well as the latest results for some of the ongoing dredging projects. There's a new information on the evaluating the sand capping for sediment nutrient reduction, so that's a new section with new details. In the general performance of interstitial water, we updated the text and the figure to reflect the latest data. We updated the information on the study for the bottom water dissolved monitoring network, which is something that Dr. Fox is working on. Updated the findings for both oyster restoration and planted shoreline, as well as the figures to reflect the latest results from those monitoring. Added a new section on clam restoration to provide an update on that. Added a new section on seagrass restoration, updated the results for the satellite imagery and the remote sensing of harmful algal blooms, and then added a new section on the circulation and water quality forecast model that's being developed. And then under research needs, there were no updates to those lists. So that's the heavy lift in section 4. I guess before I move on to 5, any questions on anything you all saw on those? All right. So section 5 talks about funding. the first part of this for project funding, schedule, and scope adjustments. There were no modifications to that information. The revenue projection was updated. Virginia talked about that earlier, so that reflects the new estimate of $583 million, which is about that $2.3 million less than the estimate in the last plan. And then there's the project funding allocation. So the pie chart shown here reflects the latest breakdown for this plan. Looks pretty much almost identical to last year. I think it's just tenths of a decimal point difference between reduce and remove. So about 60% reduce, 35% or 36% remove, and then about 2% in restore and respond. And then we have the one page with the pie charts by year showing how the costs change. Based on feedback from the last year's committee, we did add dollars on all the pie charts on the title to help give some feedback. It just had percentages, so then at least you have an idea of the total amount, because the totals do change each year based on the estimates. So to make it readable, I'm just going to show the original plan compared to where we are in the 2026 plan update. So this goes back to the discussion earlier too. You know, when the original plan was developed, we were in the $300 million range, and then today's plan is about $559 million being allocated. These dollars are less than that 583 because we're not reflecting the contingency. So this is the inflated plan costs for the different project types as a comparison. So you can see in the original plan, about 66% of the dollars went to muck removal. And then over time, we've allocated more of that in the orange sections, which are some of the wastewater, rapid infiltration basins, and septic to sewer, and about 39% now is for muck removal and interstitial. Stormwater in the darker blue has grown over time as well, and then some things like the monitoring we've tried to keep pretty steady. So in section 6, we have a lot of great summary information for the plan. This is a good place to go just to see where you've landed. So we have 6 tables that compare the estimated project reductions from all the approved projects to the county's proposed total maximum daily loads to show the progress that would be made towards those. We have table 6-7 that summarizes the reductions from remove and restore projects, because the previous tables really focus on those reduced. So the total maximum daily load looks more at what's coming from the watershed to the lagoon, and then we look at the estimated in lagoon project benefits. Table 6-8 has a good project summary with the estimated nitrogen and phosphorus reductions as well as costs. Table 6-9 was one that we added last year, which shows cost effectiveness for the approved Save Our Indian River Lagoon project costs, the inflated costs, and then the total project costs. So you can see the cost effectiveness. And these are updated, so as we have information on the final completed project costs, those are captured there. And then table 610, which we call the rainbow table, is shows all the project costs by year of the plan, and those include the inflated dollars, so you can see how spending is being planned across the years. And then this is just another way to compare those 2016 costs to our current 2026 update. Again, we were in that $302 million range, 583. Today, this one does have the contingency built in. You can see everything is higher today than it was in 2016, except for monitoring. We are keeping it at that $10 million and focusing the funding on projects. It's a combination of adding new programs, adding new projects, the inflation we've been seeing over time. So we're about $280 million higher than that original plan as the tax funds come in. And then there are quite a few pages of appendices in the back. So Appendix A talks about other funding sources that can be used to help that we can leverage the sales tax dollars towards. And we updated the sales tax projection information back there and refined some of the information on the funding sources. Appendix B is the references. So any new references that were either discussed directly in the plan or new research that occurred in the last year that's related to one of the topics in the plan was included and highlighted. Appendix C has details about seagrass. Figure C2 was updated to reflect chlorophyll data through 2025, and there were some more details using the latest references added to that section. Appendix D is the unfunded projects that Don had mentioned earlier. So we updated Table D1 for the wastewater treatment facilities, capturing some of the changes that have happened in the plan. Table D3 for the package plants, moving the cove back there. D5 for stormwater, both moving those projects that were unfunded based on your recommendations as well as reflecting the latest costs. And then Table D6 for muck dredging and interstitial using those latest flux data. And then Appendix E, these are the withdrawn projects. So each year, if one of the partners realizes the project that they've selected can't move forward, whether it's funding or feasibility, they move back here. So any that were withdrawn as part of the 2026 update are captured in Table E1. Appendix F is the loading estimates from stormwater basins that are located on federal lands. The funding estimates for these projects were updated, and then based on a comment from a committee member, we did add a total roll just so you could see the total cost and the estimated benefits. These are areas that the county just doesn't have direct access to, so a partner would have to implement projects. And then Appendix G is the long description of figures. This is needed for ADA compliance requirements to post the plan on the county's website, and so any descriptions for newer revised figures were updated here. And with that, those are all of the big picture edits that were made to your plan. So, thank you.
Yeah, and just a note to everybody, it is a document that's ADA compliant. It's something that came into my face early on in my attendance here. Any questions? Yeah.
I just had a comment. The pie graph, really great way to show the increase in stormwater. I think that's such a great example of, as this 10 years has gone from the original concept to now best management practices being implemented and our identification and, realizing that needs prioritized. So I think that's a great example as we move into projects like capping or other things that aren't as used here in our local area, just to see the stormwater management, especially with the elephant in the room, Blue Origin, and their stormwater versus the salinity versus wastewater. I think that's a really great example for us to show that our knowledge has grown, and that's backed by where the money has been prioritized for projects here as oversight committees. So great presentation. Thank you very much.
Don, I got one.
Sure.
On that graph, there were 2 0% on either side. Can you just define that real quick? Yeah. What are the zeros?
So
They round up to less than 1%.
yeah, I think they're point
Yeah.
something, yeah. So it's the
Tiny
purple. Oh, it's the monitoring.
Is it the monitoring? Okay.
And then it's the rapid infiltration basin and spray field upgrades, because I think there's only, 2 that are
Okay.
maybe $160,000 or something.
It's not monitoring both times?
No.
Okay. So monitoring went up a little bit, maybe?
Monitoring is one of them, so we're keeping that steady at the 10 million, so it's
Okay.
not, yeah.
Great. Thanks for the clarification.
Oh, it's monitoring's green, that's the oyster in the green. And then the purple sliver is project monitoring, so I think that's where the 0 is pointing. The 0 looks like it's in the wrong spot on
'Cause the 2's
the left.
kinda like-
Yeah.
That's good.
But on the right, yeah, it's that, you can barely see it. There's a little purple sliver between the green and the red.
I have a question, and it's probably more for staff. The reduction from the 66 to 30% in dredging, and if you don't have this off the top of your head, that's reasonable. I wouldn't be surprised if you did, though. Is that based on projects completed or prioritizing, or a little bit of both, I'm guessing?
That
So-
was mostly direction from the board back in 2018, 2019,
I wasn't-
saying we would like more of the money to be spent on sewer infrastructure and less on muck. And they sent the plan back to the committee and said, look at shifting about $100 million.
Okay. I recall that vaguely. I wasn't actually a member yet then. But some of that would also account for projects completed that we don't need to do anymore because there's.
Well, this is the total, so this includes completed projects, projects that are underway, projects still to go.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah,
So
that's why the total is the 558. It's everything except contingency.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it helps if we can look at the table version too, if that's easier. These are rolled up to the bigger categories, so you can see the detail.
Any more committee comments? Yeah.
One question on the monitoring to follow up. On the removal or the different efforts to remove or address harmful algal blooms or nutrients, you're coming out, pulling them out of the water. It's intriguing to see, is the monitoring sufficient enough to look at potential negative effects? So for example, pulling out the algae, the plankton that caused the blooms, that's also where all the fish larvae live, right, the invertebrate larvae. Are we looking at those possible negative effects, especially as we're trying to get, as we get more habitat for the fish, we should expect more fish there to spawn, which means more larvae in the water column. Or are we going to be kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by trying to get rid of algae, but then taking the fish larvae out at the same time? Are we looking at that aspect?
Is that a reference to the new technology project that AECOM did? And
Yeah, so that was just a quick pilot project.
Right.
And I don't believe they looked at the, so we try to differentiate between harmful algae blooms and, a lot of the diatoms and green chlorophyll, that is healthy for the system.
Right.
But that just looked at the volume of.
Right, that's kind of
was
my question.
harvested.
So is there going to be pursuit of that again? Or is
That
one
project, while it was successful in harvesting algae, it was not cost-effective to use at the scale that we're looking at. So no, we're not planning on pursuing
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that wasn't quite clear from the report, that's why I asked. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Any more from the committee? We have one public comment from Sandra Sullivan.
Good morning, Sandra Sullivan. So the Cove was not on the agenda. I think there's some people who would have liked to have been here for that. And on that comment, I just wanted to say that the grants themselves had matching funds. One would presume that would be from Sorrel. So that would be like $2.3 million. You guys in the last meeting allocated those funds to other projects, and now DEP is not allowing you to move those funds to other projects. So maybe there should be some questions about that. The reason I wanted to come here is I have concerns on a couple things on the plan. So according to the budget for the county, the cost for AWT for South Beaches is $50 million. That's public record. In the plan, there's only $2.4 million, $2.47 million. That was allocated 2022. There was a $12 million grant from the state for AWT for South Beaches. Insufficient funds. So even though that contract was awarded back in 2022 to Jacobs, no work's really happened on it. So the taxpayers were promised AWT for the reclaimed water, and that hasn't been delivered because the Sorrel funding is insufficient for those projects to move forward. So you can see that on Waves Action on my group. The other issue I have is when you look at the Lagoon plan last year and previous years, and you look at the dollar values that were allocated to projects. For example, this one, the NASA Banana River project is in the Lagoon plan last year at $250.8 million. It's in this year's plan for $10 million. rounding numbers. Now, when you go down the list and you look at the other projects, Satellite Beach was 8 million, now it's 1 million. The numbers are substantially adjusted to come up with a 39% proportion of the Lagoon plan. Now, I've been calling this plan the Muck plan, the Muck tax, because that's what it was initially called when it was first introduced in Florida Today, when it was first proposed. And to go back to the county commission directive, it was put down to 24% and adjusted. And I'm going to call this the muck tax. I look at the FIT reports, I've read them all, where they're, by their own reporting, the sources, the most of the muck flex sites, 14 of 20 of them, are the causeways. And I'm just going to say, you know, the voter perspective is that the main issue is sewage and the sewage dumping, 23 million gallons. And if you look at Florida DE pollution notices, the county's just entering 2023 documents yesterday. So they've been hiding it.
Yes, thank you. All right. We vote on the plan to move forward to the county commission for their approval.
If I could address that, in regard to malicious intent, didn't we receive as a committee the explanatory issue of why that information had a seemingly delay? But that's not correct. It wasn't withheld intentionally for any malicious intent. I understood that email correct, yes?
It was reported in multiple ways.
Yes.
It just did not make it over to the outward-facing portal of the state, so they asked the county to submit it a third way.
In addition to the ways it had already been timely submitted?
Yes.
Thank you. I just didn't want to leave that hanging out there.
Yeah, thank you. So we need a committee. We're going to vote, so we need a
Motion to approve.
motion to approve.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to approve.
Okay.
The plan.
The plan.
I'll second.
Any comment?
It's a
Thank
good
you.
plan.
Yeah.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you very much. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. So the plan moves forward to the county commission at their next meeting.
Right, it won't be their next meeting, the end of January, it'll be February. We have to post it for 15 days prior to it going to the county commission, so that doesn't line up with the next county commission meeting.
So when is that date?
Early February is what we'll aim for, the first meeting in February. Is that the 6th? Yes.
10th. Thank you. So you're all welcome, by the way. Certainly.
I was going to ask, if the commission has any questions about specific projects, do they have a window that they can address that with us as a committee, or is that back to staff? If you could just briefly explain the process once the commission has the voted on plan.
Right, so they will also have it for at least 15 days, in advance of the agenda packet going out for their meeting. So if they have minor concerns or questions, they'll contact staff. If they have major issues, then that will probably, need to be discussed in the public meeting, right? And could potentially come back to the Oversight Committee, depending on. So they have the authority to approve it, deny it, or modify and approve. So in the past, we've seen some, very minor modifications, but generally, if it was anything consequential, they would send it back to the committee.
All right, thank you very much, all for getting through that all. Much shorter than the project meeting. I have one general comment from Sandra Sullivan.
Sandra Sullivan. I run a group called Waves Action, if people want to read about what I'm going to talk about. So in some current news, the Army Corps of Engineers is dredging Cape Fear up in North Carolina. And if you know anything about that, it is very heavily contaminated in PFAS. That's where it's manufactured. And guess where they're going to put the muck? Any idea? On the wetlands. Just like what we're doing here in Brevard County. Now, you've listened to Ms. Barker talk about the Grand Canal muck and the high organic content and how much PFAS binds to muck, to organic material. Now, when you go back, Patrick has the third highest PFAS contamination in the country as military bases, both in the Patrick area of South Patrick Shores. You notice a lot of the projects are there, and also up around the Cape where they used it for launches. So if our military is putting contaminated PFAS muck on wetlands in North Carolina, don't you think that's what the county is doing here? So it's interesting. I've been going to the restoration advisory boards for Patrick and I'm on the board since 2019. And they did a remedial investigation in 2014, and that report came out in early 2015. To me, it's no coincidence that the muck tax was proposed in 2015 and called the muck tax. And we got a 66% of that tax going to muck dredging. Now, I read VendorLink's contract for where they're putting the muck for this upcoming time. And the contract has a liability, an immunity liability, but no disclosures on the PFAS. Now, if you're following the news, you know about the PFAS in our drinking water, how this is a very mobile, very toxic chemical. And I'm just going to say, it is irresponsible. It is very irresponsible for Brevard County and Sorrel to be taking PFAS-contaminated muck and putting it out on the wetlands and the floodplain near the St. Johns River for a very mobile chemical that spreads to other water bodies where cattle graze. And maybe that's our meat cattle that we eat at the grocery store, that we buy. And just one last thing. I live on top of a military dump south of Patrick. I know about their lies. And I'm just going to say this. In 1991 in the newspaper, the most contaminated site on base was where they disposed PFAS to the river. In a newspaper article with dead fish and wildlife and that, they've known about this for a long time. This sorrel tax, in my opinion, is nothing more than a cleanup for the federal government put on the taxpayers of Brevard. And the muck tax needs to end.
Thank you.
And it's not even legal if you look at Florida Statute 212.055. Muck dredging is not legal under the infrastructure surtax.
Thank you. We do have another card from Craig Wallace.
Good morning. Follow that. A couple things on meetings. Just as the workshops have begun the process this year with it, trying to get where are we going after the 26 plan program is ended, we have things to do. We have the information that's being gathered from the public, and then we have the process of getting this approved by the county commission to be on the ballot. Then we have the process of getting the voters to vote for it. So I don't know how many of you are aware, but in 2016, the coalition, the Variety Indian River Lagoon Coalition, was kind of the organizer for the efforts to try to get the public aware and of what the program was and get the vote approved, which was very successful. So in order for us to do that again, obviously, we've got some, should we say, obstacles to overcome, as you just heard. But part of this is getting the public educated on what has been done and the successes that we've had. Now, you heard a lot of that if anybody listened to the Palm Bay workshop, but a lot of people haven't heard about that. They don't. It did get into the news, but there's a lot of people that still don't know what this program is all about. So a lot of what we do is education, but then we get into, after we get the commission approval, hopefully to put this on the ballot, will be the campaigning. So those are the kind of the phases we're going through. So the first meeting that we're going to have as kind of I'm going to call it stakeholders meeting will be to get all the organizers together to start planning for what that campaign is going to look like. Now, I'm not asking you to go out and campaign because you can't do that, but that's the role that we have to try to organize all the environmental groups and the people that care about the lagoon and want to see this sales tax continue on. So we're scheduling that meeting for the 11th of March. It'll be at the Lagoon House. We're not trying to get the public there. We're trying to get the supporters of the program, the people that are going to work to try to get this the program approved. So we will form probably a political action committee that will be part of that process. So we'll be discussing some things like that. But you're very welcome to attend that meeting because we need the inputs of your perspective of, what are we going to tell the public in terms of, what is this program about? So that's an important meeting if you put that on your schedule. The other thing I just want to do, this is kind of a promotion, in order to fund this effort for us to do this, we don't get any of the funds from the Sorrel program. We basically get public support. So we're staging an event. This is really an entertainment event. It's called, it's a Freebo and Alice Howe. I don't know if any of you are aware of the group. I'll kind of just pass these around if anybody would like to do. So it's a fundraiser event, but it's really just entertainment. We will have education there and opportunity for some dialogue with people that about this event. But the real effort is what do we do after hopefully the county commissioners approve this, and so that it's going to be in the latter half of the year that we'll really have the action and we'll need all the support we can get. So anyway, that's our program. Thank you much.
Thank you. All right, that's it for public comments, general public comments. Now, if we could go ahead.
Like Don and Brett and others in the room, I did attend both of the county commission workshops that occurred these past 2 weeks about seeking public input on Sorrel. I want to thank the commission for starting the dialogue in a very public way about this program, which I believe is vital. I want to say that Laura Lee and Virginia and her team and all the speakers were persuasive on how important this program is and also the progress that's being made. So I just want to say congratulations to all of you. Brandon stood out there, I think, both nights sharing information with the public. One of the most frustrating things that I hear is people don't know about this program. And I was actually at lunch yesterday with someone saying, I used to watch these meetings, and I used to, but it's just time consuming. I'm hoping that we will have an opportunity in the next couple of months to go back. I took very copious notes because we were encouraged to listen about what does the public want in this program. And there were very good things that were said about what's working well. This committee and the voices that we represent being one of those things that's working well. And there were also some real good suggestions, and if you read between the lines of that, I think you also see some of the work that we have to do, both on the education and the understanding of those things. But I want to say, great job, great job, great job, and thank you. I hope there will be more of those meetings and that we can all work together, because getting to the audience that we're trying to reach is very difficult, and I believe it does require some personal responsibility to care. So it's my comment.
And we will be discussing some of that in next month's meeting. And I have a long list of things that were brought up. And so, we will be discussing those things that were brought up, and then also hearing from all you.
Well, one thing you're not going to do is follow this young lady giving a speech.
No.
Good job.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, go ahead.
In regard to Craig, the event at March 11th at the Lagoon House, is that open to the public? Is there any sunshine issue if we attend? You specifically said you want to hear us, so if we're
going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about.
We'll talk. Yeah. So we'll discuss that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's something for.
Yeah, it's internal. Yeah.
This is not a general public advertised meeting. This is really what we're calling the stakeholders. These are
right.
Primarily environmental organizations and so forth.
So
Your
sunshine
contribution would not be to promote, the sales tax. That the objective is to get ideas from you in terms of how do you talk to your constituents? How do you spread the information out there to let them know what is going on, and in getting more people to try to listen in on this broadcast so that they get exposed to the ideas. So, but it's a legal thing in terms of.
Yes, I was just wanting to be very conscientious about anything that might come up in the future that we may vote on as a committee, and how that information would be shared. In that, if it's a closed door setting, if multiple of us are there, I would prefer to err on the side of not attending that at this point than myself. But I would love to share, and I would definitely want to hear what the organizations are doing and planning. But I just wanted to put that out here now in front of everyone together, just so we could have some clarification if there's any kind of notice or anything that we need to know for ourselves.
I think that's the most important thing to know, is that you're there to mainly listen.
Yeah.
And listen to what the public says. I mean, that's our goal in a lot of these, is to listen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
In regards to the meetings, again, to reflect that statement from before, excellent job. How and where can we share them to the public? They were recorded, great presentations. Is there a link that's going to be provided?
No, there is. You can go on to the county website and get it.
Oh, there you go.
Get it through the county website.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Everyone
video.
listening at home, county
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, the video is there. Yeah. Any other?
I also had a couple of things.
Yeah.
Blue Origin meeting. I talked through a conduit with FDEP per the request of the commission, and my response that I received was that there not enough public notice time, as was mentioned, possibly for a change in location. And then as well, I was sent a map that showed the county's responsibility to open an additional parking field. I'm just sharing what I received. So I don't know if that is it seemed pretty basic. I'm guessing I'm not the only one that received that same response for the county to open up additional parking at the IFAS Center. I don't know if that's been arranged yet or not, but mostly just wanted to put it out there that it is January 30th at 4 p.m. If anyone wants to speak or listen about the Blue Origin permit reissuance issue, that's going to be then.
Carpool.
Carpool. And speaking of carpool, also there's an awards from the East Florida Regional Planning Council. Is anyone planning to attend that luncheon? I know a couple of staff are planning to go. I'm planning to go. I have a history with the group and Tara way back from decades ago from Orlando and Orange County, so I think it's going to be a fun afternoon. And anyone not know what I'm talking about? The Diamond Awards from the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council. I think I said it in the right order. Thanks, Nick. It's a luncheon. We got an email about it previously. It's going to be in New Smyrna in February. I don't recall the date off the top of my head. But the SOAR received an award. If Virginia or Terry wanted to share what we received, it was an award for, I think it was innovation, under innovation. They're an organization, they do planning, they do comprehensive plans, engineering, they do everything. But they also acknowledge successful and prosperous programs and boards and achievements projects in the region. So it's quite an honor, and Sorrel and county specifically, I believe they're end of it as much as anything. Not that they could do that without having to take care of us as well. But I was gonna say deal with, but I didn't want to do that today. But yeah, so there's a luncheon.
February 25th.
February
We
25th.
sent the award notification
Yeah.
out to the committee, I'm
Yeah.
fairly sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I'd like to get on with my quest here, if I could. Yeah. And it's really, again, I saw all you, this is many years, first year in this, and I know my first year, I just sat and listened, because it's overwhelming, what you bring in on this. So, what I want to do is get everybody more engaged in the committee, in the process, in just understanding. So, the first I'm going to start with the emeritus members. Charlie is going to give us next month an update on biochar and the potential of the use of muck in biochar with biochar. So you're going to give that, and also put together a white paper that will be presented to us and to the county commission. Yeah, and John, I was going to have you revisit the February 2025 meeting where we did lessons learned, and go over those lessons learned that we came up with, and for the benefit of the new members who many of them did not attend that February meeting and didn't hear the presentation and all the things that the long-term members put forward and that were really, really significant. But at that time, you can also we can also discuss some of the projects that were discussed during the workshop that work and don't work. We can all discuss that too. And I can send you a list through Virginia, can send you a list of those.
The projects that work or don't work during what workshop? The workshop last February?
The two
or-
workshops that occurred with the county commission just recently.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I was unable to attend either of those or listen to them. I was undergoing some medical procedures.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, but I'll get you the list, yeah, of that, and then we'll have probably more that come up. So thank you.
And you're going to put that in writing, right? That
Yes.
assignment, you're gonna put
You're
that-
going to get it. I'll send it to Virginia and Jackie, and you'll get it. Okay? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, we just are not going to discuss it now, probably, because we would like to get done by 11 o'clock. So that comes to Barbara and Eric. The health of the lagoons of the IRL system is certainly tied to real estate value, and within the IRL watershed. And the question to you is: do realtors have enough knowledge and information to talk to prospective homeowners, and how is it done informing them? And do they have enough information? And then also, do they need more information, literature? What do they need? Something that staff could put together, and you could work with staff and in the future, and we could put together the needed items for that.
And we do have a lot of information for that, but we'd be happy to bring samples of what we do
Okay.
and other solutions.
also, and then that goes to some of the comments within the workshop was towards low-interest loans and partnerships to assist homeowners in improvements that help the lagoon. And something that may be important to convey to new home buyers or existing home buyers along the way. And you can expand on that in any way you want to work within that. Okay, Rick and Bruce. Yeah. As a result of the House Bill 1379 passed in 2003, the DEP Office of General Counsel issued a final order requiring Brevard County to develop plans to meet septic tank conversions to advanced systems or septic to sewer, and also to, that's by 2030, and sewage treatment plant upgrades to advanced wastewater treatment by 2033. Those plans were finalized last year. And are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. I want you to take those plans and condense them and present the results to the COC. And just to make you aware, the presentation has already been done on the septic tank conversions and upgrade areas, so that may help you along a little bit on that. So to review that presentation that was done by the consultant for that. So, okay? Do you understand what?
It's going to be in writing.
Okay. No.
That we communicated through Virginia, from my understanding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the Kimley Horn plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm taking my direction too.
No, and that's the other thing this is encouraging you to do is work with staff. You know, all of staff. Okay, Dick and Aaron. Heather, let me see. Some of the statements that Aaron, you made on the quality of fishing near package treatment plants and also failed oyster reefs at the last meeting. Can you provide, what I want you to do is provide evidence of that, provide more evidence of that. And then all of the existing package treatment plants and disposal methods are located in Appendix D of the plan, of the project plan. How should these be connected or upgraded in the future? Can you? I've started to look into that in the past, and it's a good task to take. There's a limited number of them, and you know, certainly we would like to treat them like any other wastewater form and get as many connected as possible, or if the only alternative is upgraded to the level they should be.
Okay.
So the question is, how should these be connected or upgraded in the future?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually two different things that if you can work together on. Thanks. Go ahead.
When we give these, we're going to give them to this group?
Yes.
Okay, so if we have questions, for instance, about what they were doing, we can ask them at that time and when they do that?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, at the meeting, or you can always ask questions through Jackie and back to any of the members
Okay.
too, and that's the method of
That would
communication.
help the list that we had started.
Okay, good.
And this is for the February meeting?
It can be for February if you feel it's a daunting task, like you guys probably feel. It can extend a little further along.
Okay.
Yeah, but just work with Virginia and staff on getting it into future meetings. Does that sound good?
Okay, and we said written, I don't know if we were kidding, written or verbal.
Written direction from
Yeah,
Virginia.
got it.
I was thinking they'd take us on a fishing tour instead.
You
Well,
bet.
then I'd show you all my secret spots and then.
Yeah.
We'll just track.
Like an ignorant.
I'll take you to the spots I take my neighbors.
Great. Want to clean any fish?
All right. All right. Kimberly and Deb, yeah. Well, we've got a copy of it right here, the memo Heather produced on advisory, on advocacy. And, you know, my daughter's an attorney, and she looked at it and said, it's pretty clear. And what I would like you to do is, so she's already produced this, but I'm sure more work can be done interfacing if necessary. But take the memo and communicate with Heather further to provide clear definitions and examples of education, outreach, and advocacy to the COC. And then Kimberly, I hear you focus on biocides. And then so I'd like to do you to kind of turn that around a little bit, if you could, and provide a presentation to the on how the soil program has encouraged the use of alternatives to herbicides.
I love this.
Yeah, and you know that because that's the positive message that we went out there too, not just the negative message. We've communicated with with cities and other entities within Brevard County on where they're going, and they actually presented on that. So if you could review those presentations and.
Absolutely, I would love a list. Do you have a list of those? I know I have personal connections with a couple of entities like Titusville, Satellite, Melbourne, but I would welcome if there's a list of others that you may know of personally. I don't want to put any more work on staff. I think the three
Oh, no,
that
staff is
I
always
have-
there for you.
I know they are. That's why I said that.
And I've got a
Because
big
they are
enough job
always
here
there for me. Okay.
yeah.
But I do have a few connections. But in regard to, since you specifically, to Deb and I said presentation, well, for me, for the alternatives to biocides, is there, again, you mentioned with them somewhat of getting with staff as far as like scheduling these? If it's presentation, do you want to give us a cap, like keep this in a 7 to 10 minute type of relay so that we have parameters that fall in line with the rest of our meeting agenda?
I'll leave that up to Virginia.
I would just say the bylaws stipulate presentations not to exceed 15 minutes.
Perfect.
But, you know, that's up to the committee and the chair when you're actually running the meeting. So, you know, whatever you want, but that's what the bylaws say.
Yeah, I'd like to.
So
I'd like to try to keep it to 15 minutes, but you know, certainly if it.
I'm going to think 10 for me. And
Pardon
then
me?
I said I'm going to think 10 for me, and then.
Oh, no,
That way we can have a
actually,
little-
these are two different subjects, certainly, that you can,
So you want specific presentation in regard to alternatives to biocides and success
Yes.
stories and how to implement
Yes.
that? And then as well, you want the advocacy explanation,
I would like that
examples?
as soon as possible.
Okay.
That part of it as soon as possible, and then the biocides one can certainly, you know, it can go into a future meeting.
So in regard to the memo, the advocacy, education, outreach, you're wanting a small presentation on what, like, the definition of each of those facets are? Not-
And examples, yeah.
And examples
Yeah.
of how we do that as committee, or how that $4 million is spent that we budgeted for the community, because those are two different
No,
topics.
I think a little, it'd be both, but particularly, I think as individuals too, how you do those. Go ahead.
So my understanding is that what you're asking us to do is to look at the memo and provide some guidance for those of us on the committee
Yes.
about where the lines are drawn.
Exactly.
And how to use the magic words and when to use them. When you can't say a magic word, is there an alternative where you can still represent the program well? Is that kind of what you're looking for, Don? It's really for us
Yeah,
to understand kind of our roadmap for how we're going to communicate this year.
And I'd like to go back to the original language in the charge of the committee is one of
Are you reading an excerpt from the original
yeah,
document?
here,
Can you share that excerpt if it's specific to
well,
this?
you all should have
reading?
got it
Oh,
in
no,
your.
I do have it. Sorry, I thought you had
Yeah,
something on
in your
own report that
onboarding,
you had gathered
you
for
have
this
it on
assignment.
in your onboarding language, but I can
Yes.
certainly send it out again.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah, it's,
We're working together on this, so I think we have what we need.
Perfect.
And we'll do an outline and give it to you in Virginia.
yes, thanks.
to react to.
But,
Make the rest of us work.
but it does speak towards advocating for the program. And that's where, certainly that's kind of the example I wanted to, it's in the language of the ordinance.
Advocating for the program sans any of the magic words. So you want a clear example
Yes.
presentation of how to address the advocacy aspect without
Yeah.
crossing the magic word line.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue on your charge here.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't finished yet.
All right.
So, in particular, Melanie behind you has a pond program. And this pond program really focuses on the interaction of the community with pollutants in their stormwater ponds. And so get together with her and see how that may be improved or expanded. Communication with homeowners, it's a perfect way of getting certain points across about nitrogen and phosphorus, other pollutants in your pond, how to treat your pond other than herbicides, and encouraging other things like other means than herbicides, right, Melanie? And
Yes, we're currently working on a resource guide for homeowners, because with that focus on what individuals can do around their home and yard, and that plays into it for the smart use of fertilizer, other alternatives as well, yes.
That's perfect. I actually have a curriculum that I wrote exactly addressing that I shared with thousands of kids across the state
Good.
before. So it was specific to exactly what you just said.
I got to
about
keep,
homeowners,
I got to keep
personal
moving. I got to keep moving here. So
Okay. Well,
yeah, communicate.
we'll communicate. And you will reach out to me. Yeah.
All right, Fred. The original soil plan contained an economic evaluation. I think you all read it in the current plan. It's been reoccurring in each of the plans, the economic evaluation of, and the benefit of improving the health of the Indian River Lagoon. The IRL and NEP just produced their economic evaluation of the IRL system and their projects. Other evaluations have been done. I think you heard about them at the workshops. Summarize the current status of economic evaluation of the IRL system in Brevard County. Are the dollars spent on the program effective? And that's your charge.
Okay.
What do you think?
Sure.
Okay.
I think the simple answer is yes.
We'll document
Simple
it.
answer, which Heather's into.
We'll document
The simple
it.
answer.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would just point out, as I raised at that last meeting, there are health costs associated with a healthy lagoon that are not in that document.
I think
whether they're negative from certain things, but if you clean it up, they can become positive, and there are clearly huge health impacts of living near healthy water.
And I think your point on blue spaces was really significant. It was, to me, I know many of you find peace out on the water.
I found one study, just real quick, that was done in China on septic tanks, and individuals living near leaking septic tanks develop frailty earlier as elderly individuals, and the frailty moved along quicker as individuals. So we're finding all kinds of things like that.
You two, like I said, I ran out of steam, man.
You can wait till next month.
No, I'm leaving.
I'm slammed right now anyway.
No, and I'm going to just leave the topic up to you all. You know the tourism industry well enough and can put together a good discussion on that. Good. Thank you. Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mark thought he was going to get away because he's in my track. Yeah. He thought he was going to get away. A few presenters in the workshops mentioned and spoke well of the Esri story map. And I don't know whether you're familiar with Esri story maps at all. The program website and its value. The Esri story map, and I don't know if you've looked at it and visited it at all. And but what most people do not understand how to use the program at all. I want you to develop a tutorial for use by citizens within the IRL watershed. For instance, I'm a future septic. Am I in a future septic to sewer conversion project? That was one of the points brought up during the workshop by an individual. Do I need to upgrade my septic tank, and how much can I get for doing that from the soil program? Okay. Good, thanks.
Esri is changing their support of story maps, and we're going to have to totally regenerate those with the new software. So I don't want Mark to spend his time doing something that's about to totally change. So
what's the timeline on that?
Next month.
Totally. How quickly can you do it?
You did say sometime this year.
Yes, so you got a little short reprieve, yeah. So.
Do we want to hear like specific dates? Obviously, are we planning like one meeting where we're all going to present these individually? Is it going to be one per month? Some logistical guidance before we say go?
I think Virginia would like to get these out of the way as quickly as possible, but I understand that some of these are going to take a little while to generate, so, and interaction to generate. So whoever can get done next month, but just communicate with Virginia and staff and tell them when you're ready.
yeah, I guess if folks could tell us whether they expect to be ready in February or March or later, because we are obviously trying to set up speakers, and we don't know how much time to allow for this versus how many other speakers to invite. So we just kind of need a head count of how many in which month so that we can set up the rest of your agenda.
Good.
Thank you, Doris. Can't vote.
Well, thank you all for we can cover the rest of the comments here at another time. We can, unless you want to cover any of.
Let me just, on the workshop conversation, I know a few people have brought it up. Those of us who attended took notes, so if we could begin to, I will send my list out to staff, and we'll come up with what we heard, send that out to you. And if you could, anything that you heard that is not on our list, if you could please add to that list so we can then share a more comprehensive list of all the comments that people are hearing. I think that would help your conversations going forward about, what the public is saying they want. Going
And
forward.
this would be, John, what I think I want you to cover, if you could help us with that, along with the other comments. So it'll be coming, so that'll be coming together. Let's make sure that we get that together as quickly as possible for John to get done.
Sure.
We can certainly start with the list that we've generated up front. Virginia? Thank you. All right. We're done if you want to adjourn.
I had one more question.
Okay.
The request that we discussed prior to the end of the year about a tutorial, like Sorrel 101, just for the new members as well as those of us who have been involved for a while to have a refresher on logistics of project submitting, the timeline that stemmed from any changes that we may want to implement as it was referred to Sorrel 2.0 and that list that's going to be shared. Just a basic, this is what Sorrel is, this is how we do it. I don't think it would need to be fully extensive. I don't think it needs to be in-depth, but an overview, bullet point. If someone has a project that they feel qualifies for funding, this is the process that they do that. And it's a reimbursement process, definitely highlighting that. I think would be very beneficial to address early in the year and maybe accompanying that list of Sorrel 2.0 possibilities and changes and updates. Whenever that's feasible for someone to deliver to us. I don't know when that would be. You had said February at some point in the time, but I don't know how our changes in scheduling, I mean, it wouldn't need to be that soon.
So during review of the projects in November, the committee asked for information that wasn't a part of the current applications. So what we had talked about was having discussion about what more you would want to see on those applications and changes to that process. So that's what I was planning to put on the agenda in February, was for the committee to talk about, what changes they would like.
That's great. And if that could also, or at another time, include a little just 101, this is the process for everyone. I would like a refresher, especially if there's any changes and updates that I may have missed. I don't believe there is specifically. But again, not sure. And I think that would couple well with the new list that we're compiling as a group.
And I will send my lane assignments through Jackie and Virginia so that they can send it out, just so you have something in writing, yeah.
Are field trips involved? Can I take everyone out on a we-do? No. Anyone? Yes, Barbara? Okay, Barbara's going. Deborah, are you coming?
All right. Well, thank you all. And do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
A second? Let's do it. Thank you all.
How do you want to do this?
No vote.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.